Welcome, everybody, to the Mace Machine Horror Show. My name is David Mace. I'll be your host this evening. And I'll be focusing on one of my favorite horror movie series. I'm going to be ranking all 25 episodes of the Creepshow series. So these are going to include the following. It's going to have all the episodes off Creepshow 1, everything off of Creepshow 2, everything off, yes, even Creepshow 3, and then also including season 1 of the TV series. So there's 25 total episodes. Recently, I ranked all those episodes on a Facebook page, the Cult Classic Horror Podcast. They have their own Facebook page. And I did a little giveaway there where I would predict all 25 episodes. And every week I'd release one episode a week. So it lasted 25 total weeks. And whoever could guess the most of them right that I created, I did a Blu-ray giveaway. Whoever got the most right, I bought them a Blu-ray. And the winner was Justin Cheffy. So shout out to you. You were able to predict 6 out of 25 of my episodes correct in the exact rankings. So on this video, I'm going to reveal each one from least to favorite. Again, I am new to this, so there's a lot of work in progress. I want to officially get like the numbers up there and have the name and everything. But for now, it's all going to kind of be rough. But here we go. I'm going to dive right into it to my least favorite Creepshow episode, and it's going to be off of the TV series. So my 25th ranked episode is called Times is Tough in Muskie Holler. And this episode was a very short episode. It starred David Arquette in it. It was very, very quick. It didn't really have much story at all to it, but it was very boring, very quick. It was hard to really know what the heck's going on. A bunch of zombies eating prisoners, and it was just very lame to me. It was hard to really see a lot that was really good about this episode. Coming in at number 24 is going to be off of Creepshow 3, and it's called The Professor's Wife. So what's curious about Creepshow 3 is it doesn't feel like a Creepshow movie at all. It seems like all kind of one movie into one, and it was all rushed. So there's one called The Professor's Wife. And it's where two students that professor had, he ordered in a mail order bride, and they thought that she was fake. She thought she was a robot. So they start taking apart all of her body parts, and then they just end up killing her when she was a real person. So I don't know. It was crazy. And so number 23 was also off Creepshow 3 as well, and that is the first story. It's called Alice, and Alice is a story where she has all different families. She starts off with like a regular white Caucasian family, and it's all about this remote control, and then she presses a button on it, and then all of a sudden it's an all African American family, and then it becomes into Hispanic family, and then eventually she ends up becoming like a rabbit, like her whole body dissolves. And I don't know, it's not a very memorable episode at all. Many of the episodes on Creepshow 3 is not very memorable, so that's why it's really low ranked on my list. And we'll go right into number 22, and it is off again the Creepshow series, and this one is Night of the Paw. Not much to say about this episode either. It's very unmemorable. I can barely remember much of it. I just remember about a monkey's paw and a curse and a body being, into the grave, coming back. It was just very, not very memorable as well. So that one's ranked very low. Number 21 is also ranked off the TV series, and that one's Lydia Lane's Better Half. And that one was an episode where there was a boss who was having an affair with one of the girls there, and possibly with another colleague there. It was kind of like a love triangle episode, and they end up getting stuck in an elevator with her lover. She thought she was going to be her partner, and then she ends up killing her, and I don't know. It was very unmemorable as well. So that's why it's ranked so low. Um, Number 20 might be a little bit of a surprise. Growing up, it was always my least favorite because I grew up on the first and second one a lot. And it's off the original one. Some people really enjoy this episode. I'm not one of them. I got really bored with this episode. It's called They're Creeping Up on You. And that's the episode that starts E.G. Marshall in. It's the very last episode. It's where he's in a secluded area. It kind of reminds me a lot of what's going on in 2020, kind of being in a bubble, not being around anybody, and all these giant cockroaches. He's really an asshole guy to deal with, and all these cockroaches end up coming out of his body at the end. Cool effect. A lot of what I hear is a lot of those cockroaches they had to bring in, and it was hard to get rid of all of them. But yeah, that one's ranked at number 20. Number 19 is back into Creepshow 3 again, and it is called The Haunted Dog. And I don't know, it has kind of some funny parts in there. The guy who's like some kind of a doctor, and he gives everybody all these messed up prescriptions telling them that they're going to die and all this. And I don't know, one of the characters from one of the episodes, from the call girl, the vampire guy, he ends up going to his house and brings a bunch of drugs. And this other guy, he chokes on a hot dog, and his spirit keeps coming back and haunting him. I don't know. It was very unmemorable as well. It had a couple cool scenes in there, but yeah, that one's ranked at number 19. Number 18, we go right back into the TV series again. You'll notice a lot of these rankings, a lot of nostalgia comes from the first two Creep shows, because those are really, a lot of those are my favorite episodes in those two. You'll see a couple bounce around from here and there, but number 18 is the first story in the TV series called Gray Matter. Has a great cast in there. I know it. Miss Barbeau is in that one. It's basically a kid's dad becomes like a big blob. He keeps drinking this beer, and I don't know, very unmemorable as well. Has a cool setting though. Kind of has a little bit of a setting like The Mist, a little bit, but yeah, it's ranked number 18. Not much to say. Number 17 also comes from the TV series, and that one is called Bad Wolf Down. And this one has Jeffrey Combs in it from the Reanimator series. And it's like all the Nazis in the war, and these guys are hiding from the Nazis, and they find a girl in a cell, and she ends up being a werewolf, and they end up like one of their friends who's in the camp turns on them, and he locks everybody in the cell with the girl, and they find out she's a werewolf, and she ends up biting all of them. They all turn into werewolves, and they take out all the Nazis, and then they come back and get the turncoat. They catch up with him. It's a pretty cool episode. Had some good visuals in there, but yeah, it's ranked number 17 on this list. So number 16, let's stay right into the TV series, and that one is The House of the Head. It's a very different episode. It's about a little girl who has a little dollhouse with all these figures in there, and there's a head in there that keeps moving on its own in there. Has a cool callback to Chief Woodenhead there from Creepshow 2 in there, which is pretty cool. And his character ends up getting killed too by the head, and then once all the characters are killed, then it starts coming out under her bed. And I know it's a big real popular with some of the fans in the TV series. I thought it was all right. I have it in the middle of the pack. Not too bad. 15 also might come to a shock to everybody, but it's also from the original Creepshow, and it's The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill. That's the one that stars Stephen King in it. I do like it, but we're getting to the episodes that I really enjoy a lot from 15 15 on, I really enjoy. And it's where he finds this meteor in his yard out there, and he touches it and he starts growing into weeds, and he jumps in the bathtub. It gets only worse. He ends up blowing his head off at the end. But it's a fun episode. It's just right in the middle of the pack for me, though. There's some other episodes in that series that I adore a lot more than that episode. Number 14, we go right back in the series, and that one is The Finger. And that one has DJ Qualls in it, the kid who played in like Road Trip, a couple comedy shows, and he played in what else did he play in? The New Guy and some other stuff, but he's kind of went away a while, and he finds this finger out in the road somewhere. He puts it in his freezer, and it starts growing, and then starts killing everybody who's been wronging him, and everybody just think at the end he ends up being put in an asylum, insane asylum, excuse me. And he still thinks that hand is coming back. I don't know. It's a pretty fun episode. We'll stay right in there with number 13, right back in the TV series, and that one is Skin Crawlers. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a Body Bags episode, a little bit of a John Carpenter short story movie back in the early 90s. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the guy wanting to grow his hair back together. This one's kind of with people with weight loss. They're trying to lose weight, and they're on this like TV show, and they go through this. I don't know, something starts sucking all their weight away, and it becomes very gory. It's definitely the most gory episode of the TV series. It's a fun watch. I think the first time I saw it, I thought it was all right, but over time, I think each viewing, I like it a little bit more. Kind of have a little bit of the Thing aspect at the end. John Carpenter's The Thing, which is another one of my favorites, but that's for another time. Number 12, we go right back into Creepshow 3. I mean, there's only 2 episodes left. This one's called The Radio. I found that one pretty entertaining. It's kind of funny. This guy is like a security guard. He lives at this apartment complex. He buys this radio from this bum out in the streets. I can't remember if it was like for $5, $10, something like that. But the radio starts talking to him, starts telling him how he can make a lot of money, diversify. There's this hidden bag somewhere with a bunch of money that the radio tells him to get, and tells him to be careful, don't trust anybody. As long as you listen to her on the radio, you're going to be successful. And then he starts falling for this prostitute girl that lives in the complex, and she gets beaten up by her pimp. Apparently the money that he found was this pimp's money they had hidden for a long time from a robbery or something. And then she goes with him. The radio tries to warn him that she's bad news, get rid of her, you need to kill her. He doesn't think with the right head there, basically, so to speak. So she ends up killing him, and and then the pimp ends up somehow getting the radio after he breaks the radio, and the radio, it ends with the radio with the pimp with all the money. And then that's an episode, not too bad. Number 11, right back into the TV series, and it's All Hallows Eve. This is a fun one. It's all about kids. They were burned in their tree house by a bunch of bully kids, but their spirits keep coming back every year for Halloween and taking out revenge every year. And then once they take them all out, then I guess they can rest in their graves eventually. I mean, I wouldn't really call it a scary episode, but I don't know. It's kind of like a throwback, like an old kids movie like Stand By Me, or even like It, with all the kids together. But it was kind of fun one. Number 10, we stay in the series again, and this one's is The Companion. I really enjoyed this one. Another one, it's about this kid who is getting bullied profusely by his older brother, and he ends up running away from his brothers, basically wanting to kill him, which is just insane for no reason. He's just a bully. And he finds this old abandoned farmhouse, and there's like a scarecrow out there. The scarecrow comes alive, and he ends up eventually taking his revenge, and the Scarecrow ends up killing the bully brother at the end. But I don't know, I thought that was a pretty memorable episode. A lot of good stuff there. Uh, Number 9, we stay right in the series. I enjoyed this one. I know a lot of the fans aren't a big fan of this one, like seeing a lot of the reviews, but it's called By the Silver Water of Lake Champlain. It's basically like an old dinosaur story where, like the Loch Ness Monster, and this girl's dad saw the Loch Ness Monster, and everybody in the town thought he was crazy, thought the whole family was crazy, and he died. And then he kept warning the family. His daughter would always believe him no matter what, and her mom ended up getting together with this douchebag guy who was just this total asshole, treated him all like hell, very abusive. And then eventually at the end, this girl had a boyfriend, and he basically try to kill this boyfriend, but the Loch Ness Monster shows up and takes him out. He had these cool boots that said shit kickers on them, and kind of reminded me a little bit of the shorts in Creepshow 2 with the Venus flytraps, where the Venus flytraps eat the bully at the end, and then he spits out his shoe at the end. It kind of reminded me of the same thing with he killed the boyfriend, stepdad, whatever he was at the end with the shit kickers. So I kind of enjoyed that one. Number 8 is my very favorite episode, which is the last one in the Creepshow TV series. All of them have been revealed now at number 8, and this one's The Man in the Suitcase. It's a lot of fun. It revolves around this stoner kid. He finds this suitcase in the airport, takes it home, and he's got this girlfriend who's just been cheating on him with his roommate, who he thinks is like his best friend, but they basically become gold diggers. He ends up finding out there's a man in his suitcase. He starts talking to him, and then all of a sudden he hurts him accidentally, and then he spits out a coin. Then he realizes that every time the man in the suitcase is in pain, he spits out more coins. So now all of a sudden the girlfriend comes back in his life, and then his so-called best friend is there as well. They're all hanging out, and they play all these little pranks on how to make more money, and then they get really greedy, and then they think of a plot on how to get rid of the boyfriend, so because he wants to stop doing it, and they get really greedy, and then they put the boyfriend in the hospital, try to kill him. And then the man in the suitcase is basically like a genie. He comes out, and then he basically makes a curse to where the girlfriend and the friend end up being in the suitcase. So they got to go through kind of what he went through, which is kind of cool. So I don't know. I really enjoyed that one. Now we get into the ones that I think are kind of the most of them are like the elite episodes for my rankings, and it's the first revealing in Creepshow 2. Probably was my favorite one growing up, but over time I kind of tend to the other episodes more. But number 7 is The Hitchhiker. Hitchhiker's hilarious, great episode. It begins with a rich wife who's been cheating on her husband and sleeping with this guy who's like a gigolo, and trying to get her like she's got her Mercedes, he's trying to get his Mercedes, and she talks to herself. Really weird girl, and she ends up running over this hitchhiker guy, and then she basically a hit and run. She leaves, but he keeps coming back. His spirit keeps coming back. She keeps running him over. Let it be known, Stephen King's in that episode. Her real husband actually stops and checks in on the body when he's ran over, but he keeps coming back on the woman, and she keeps running him over, shooting him, just destroying him to where he has nothing left. But then eventually the hitchhiker gets the best of him and kills her at the end. And the husband comes home and finds the body, and that's the end of that episode. But I don't know, me and my late father used to have a lot of fun with that episode. We'd always laugh about, "Thanks for the ride, lady." And it was a fun episode. Number 6 may not be a very popular pick, but it is the last revealing for Creepshow 3, and it's the Call Girl. I really enjoyed that episode. She played a little role in a couple of the other episodes with the radio. She walks by the character there. She's also in The Professor's Wife, where she pulls up to the house where Well, she's a call girl murderer. Her name's Rachel. Um, she basically gets a call from this guy to come by his house. You know, he wants a good evening with her, and doesn't really. All these murders been going on. She's been killing everybody, and she kills this homeless lady. She goes to his house, planning on killing him as well. She blindfolds him, and then she ends up stabbing him to death, killing him, taking a shower. And then when she wakes up, she starts hearing these voices or these whispers of hearing her name coming from the dead guy's corpse. She takes off the pillow that's covering his face and let it be known he's a vampire. And then he ends up killing her and realizing that the house of where he was at wasn't even his house at all. He killed that entire family and had their bodies hung up on the wall. And then at the end, it ends up showing her body up on the wall too. It's a really short episode. I don't know. I just really enjoyed the little twist there. I thought that was really interesting. So that's why it's ranked number 6. And now we're at number 5, the top 5. We are finally here. Number 5 comes from Creepshow 2 and is the old Chief Woodenhead. That is a very entertaining. It's a very entertaining episode. It's also really sad too. It's this old couple who they end up owing a lot of debts, or no, not them, but there's this Indian tribe that owes a lot of debts to them because they're very giving, and so they can't afford their debts, so they give away all their treasures from everybody in their tribe, and if they can't pay them back in a certain amount of time, then they will own the treasure forever. And let it be known, the tribe has this nephew. His name's Sam White Moon. His character is hilarious. He's got fat stuff and then rich boy. They all kind of hang out together, and they want to go to Hollywood. They want to become superstars, movie stars. Basically, just Sam does. He wants to use the rich guy and the fat guy just to come along with him. Basically, the fat guy is his slave. Rich guy just because of his money and his Firebird. And the old couple does not want to budge. It's George Kennedy, plays a nice role in that, but then he ends up getting shot, which is really sad, and then so does his wife. They steal the jewel, but they have this wooden chief Indian who is there that kind of guides and protects them. I don't know, just like a little statue outside of their store. And let it be known, after they die, Sam freaking shoots the Indian, and then the Indian ends up coming alive. There's a spirit in there. And then one by one, he starts picking off all 3 of them before they make it to Hollywood. He takes out fat stuff, shoots arrows in his head and stomach there. And then he kills Rich Boy with a little hatchet, little Apache hatchet. And then Sam takes a lot of pride in his hair. He keeps talking about this hair is going to get me paid, laid in Hollywood. And then old Chief Woodenhead ends up scalping him at the end. And then the wooden Indian returns the treasures to the tribe, and then he wakes up in the morning and then goes out there and realizes that the scalp is there with the wooden Indian, and that's the end of that episode. Good episode, one of my favorites. Now we're in number 4 is going to be out of the original Creepshow, and that is Something to Tide You Over. Great episode with Ted Danza, Leslie Nielsen, and also has the girl from the original Dawn of the Dead, and she's also, I believe, in Madman, another one of my favorite slashers in the early 80s. I didn't realize it was her till once I looked it up years later. Leslie Nielsen is basically married to this girl. He's got a lot of money, but she's really in love with this other guy, Ted Danson's character. But Leslie Nielsen figures it out and has this plot to get his revenge, that they're not going to screw him over. So he ends up burying her in the sand, and then basically persuading Harry, if you want to see her again, you better come with me, and takes him out to the beach, persuades him. He threatens to shoot him, and then Harry takes his other route, ends up getting buried in the sand instead. And then he has a TV out there so he can watch his lover basically drowned. And while Harry's watching buried in the sand, there's nothing he can do about it as well. And then Leslie Nielsen's character leaves, and he has these in his home. He has his home videos where he can watch both of them drowned at the same time, and thinking that he got away with murdering both these people. Let it be known, they come back from the dead, and they both basically get their revenge and bring Leslie Nielsen out to the beach, and they let him go through exactly what they went through. And he keeps talking about if he can hold his breath for a long time, and very enjoyable episode. I go back and forth with my number 3 and my number 4 rankings. So now we are in the top 3. Number 3 is off the original Creepshow as well, and that is the very first episode, Father's Day. Yeah, that's a great episode. Has Ed Harris in there. Ed Harris had a little bit of hair in that episode. I've never seen him in later roles like in Radio and another horror movie, Needful Things, Stephen King's movie. But this is an episode about Aunt Bedelia, where she murdered her father. He was very abusive to her, definitely mentally abusing her, always would cut her down and cry about, "Where's my cake?" And give her such a hard time about that. And then one day she murders him with this ashtray. Let it be known that ashtray, I guess, is in every single episode of the Creepshow series, I believe, in the original and in every episode of the TV series, I think. I'm not 100% factual on that, but I think I read that one time. But she bashes him with the ashtray. She has a lot of guilt over that. Every Father's Day, they have a big dinner to get together with her sister, I believe. Yeah, her sister. And they're there and telling the story about everything that went on. And then he comes back from the grave. He comes back, he kills Bedelia, then he kills Ed Harris's character, and then twists the head of the other girl, puts it on the cake. He's like, "Where's my cake?" Bedelia, I don't know, it's a lot of fun. One of my favorite episodes. Yeah. So now we're into the top 2. My second favorite episode of the Creepshow series is off Creepshow 2, and that is The Raft. The Raft is probably, when I was at a young age, probably scared me more than any episode. I don't know, that episode used to bother me a lot. I used to have a lot of nightmares over that episode. I had this crazy nightmare one time about at the end where Randy's character basically escapes the oil slick, where he says, "I beat you." Instead of saying that, in my dream, he would keep running off the beach. He would get into the yellow car, and the oil slick, the blob oil slick, whatever you want to call it, would come up onto the land, come up on the car, and then somehow he'd get out of the car and escape it. He would go down the road. He'd find this log cabin somewhere down there, and he would go down these stairs. And in my nightmare, the oil slick would go down these stairs, and he'd find him right under the staircase and kill him. And that's when I'd wake up. But that story used to always bother me. I hated it, how Randy did not get away. It's really the story's about 4 kids going out to this raft out in September, and they swim out there. They see this thing. Randy sees this oil slick eating this loon out there, and he knew something was weird. And the guys get up onto the raft. The girls are swimming all slow. The oil slick's going really slow, I guess, basically to set them up to get onto the raft so it can eat them up, I guess, one by one. The girl Rachel gets curious, starts putting her finger through the oil slick, and then it pulls attached to her arm, pulls her down there and eats her, swallows her whole. It's a really cool visual where it shows her lift up, and then the oil slick slowly pull her down. And then the guys start talking about, what are we going to do? We can swim. We can outswim it. Deke tries to go leave the rest, Randy and Laverne there, and then he steps in the middle of the crack while the oil slick goes underneath the raft, and then it pulls his leg, breaks his leg in half, and eats him, leaving Laverne and Randy there, and they're just still not sure how they're going to survive this thing. And then, like, the next morning, I don't know, the oil slick's still there, and he ends up starting to, I don't know, starts kissing on her and seducing her. I don't know, almost like he's sacrificing her life so he can get away. I don't know what Randy's thinking that next morning. I do remember the song playing when he wakes up the next morning. I don't know how that battery's going on all night long, but it's playing like an old NWA pro wrestling entrance song. It's playing like Lex Luger's old entrance song while there, and kind of weird how I remember that. But yeah, the oil slick takes apart Laverne. Then he finally decides to jump in the water. He starts swimming for it. He gets up on the land. He starts saying, "I beat you." The oil slick jumps up and eats him, swallows him whole. And then at the very end, it shows like no swimming sign there. So I don't know. I thought it was a great episode. Over years, that one has really grown on me. And then we go to number 1, which has always been my favorite episode. And it's off the original. It's the longest episode in the whole series, and that is The Crate. Love the Crate with Fluffy in there. Great episode. For me, it's a flawless episode. What it is this janitor. It's in this college university called Horlicks University, where Laverne and the Raft is actually wearing a T-shirt in the second one. And he finds this old crate that's been there for years, and it made it look like it's something maybe off The Thing, where it says Antarctic Expedition. And from John Carpenter's The Thing, they also appears in Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday 13th movie, in the basement there of the Voorhees house, where Jason's sister is dead in there, and it shows the crate there as well, right before the little worm flies up her, and that's kind of a cool Easter egg in that movie as well. And so what happens is, it's really, the stories revolved around this character Harry and Adrienne Barbeau's character. This Call Me Billy, everybody does, and she's an alcoholic. She basically controls Harry, and he's so miserable. He's trying to think of ways on how to get rid of her. He has all these flashbacks, these little thoughts of how he would kill her. It shows him like shooting her, shows him like strangling her later. And then his friend Dexter works at the university. I think he kind of like sleeps around with some of the students there. But the janitor calls him up about this crate that he finds in the university under this staircase. So he's like thinking, oh, maybe we found some kind of treasure or something. So they drag it out, they break it, they put it up on the table, they start opening up. It's really nailed, really tight. And then the janitor opens it up. He's like, it sounds like something's moving in there, or something's alive in there, which just seems completely unreal. He reaches his arm in there, and all of a sudden the thing bites him, starts eating him whole. Dexter tries to lift up the crate, and the monster looks like a big Tasmanian devil, eats him, swallows him whole. He runs out, and he runs into one of the students, Charlie, tries to warn him about it, and he just thinks he's completely insane. And Charlie goes in eventually with him. They see all the blood. Fluffy, the monster, ends up pushing his crate back under the stairs, and basically almost like he sets them up. Like, I think he hides somewhere in there to set him up. Charlie goes under there with Dexter, and then basically he's trapped under there. Fluffy comes out, claws him. He tries to hit him with a crowbar, nail bar, whatever it was, and then Fluffy takes a big bite of his head near his ear area, drags him back, and Dexter runs away and goes to Harry's house, tries to tell him the whole story. It's almost like Harry kind of thinks of a whole plot, like, maybe Dexter's onto something. I don't know if I believe him or not, but if what he's saying is true, here's my cop out on how to get rid of my alcoholic wife for good. So he writes up this story, knocks out Dexter, locks him into his room at his house, drives to the university, starts cleaning up all the blood, all the mess, writes this big note for his wife, Wilma's her name, not Vilma from the Flintstones, but basically trapping her, setting her up to come there. And Harry's seen no sign of this creature anywhere. And then she shows up. Harry makes up this story about some girl that Dexter beat up, and that she's hiding underneath the staircase, hiding into the crate, and tries to get Billy under there. He starts swinging her body up against the crate, and then doesn't happen. She starts cutting him down. He's like, you better get away from me, or you're gonna be wearing your balls as earrings. And then starts threatening him. And then all of a sudden, the crate box opens up. Monster grabs Billy and eats her up. He's like, just tell it to call you Billy. He throws up. He finally gets rid of his wife, and then he eventually locks up the beast in its crate. He puts it into his car, takes it out to this swamp area, this cliff, drops it in there, tells Dexter about the story the next morning. Now he's got his chess partner for life, basically. And then the Fluffy breaks out of the crate at the end, and that's the end of the story. But yeah, George Romero, Stephen King, they create a masterpiece. To me, Creepshow and Creepshow 2 are the greatest anthologies ever made. I am also a huge fan of the Tales from the Crypt series. I love all the movies, love most of the episodes. I have all 8 seasons on DVD. I don't know about my next rankings list. Possibly I'll rank the Halloween series. It's very popular. I want to start off with the Creepshow series just because I'd already made that list, and I have not seen anybody else rank all 25 episodes before, so I want to do something to differentiate myself from everybody else. I hope everybody enjoyed this show. I hope you can subscribe and support my channel. Yeah, hopefully I can just continue to get better. This is definitely a work in progress, but I enjoy everybody for sticking around and watching this, and spread the word and subscribe to my channel. So thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening. So peace.